Hello!
Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to Curious Casefiles, episode 18.
Wow.
Which is really episode 20, but whatever.
Yeah.
We had a spring break and then we had the first episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. But they don't count.
Indeed.
They don't count. Well, they count as episodes, but
They
not
count as episodes, but like not the main.
numerically.
Yeah, they count. So if you haven't watched them, go watch them. Go like and subscribe, everybody, and all that jazz.
Jamie, stop being so bossy. It doesn't suit you.
Right. Would you please, if you don't mind, considerably go and do.
He's very bossy. As the credits were playing, he was giving me a row.
Yeah, Lisa's never bossy.
No, I'm not. I'm a good girl. He was giving. he was giving me a row.
She thought, I know what she thought.
Yeah. He was giving me a row because he said that he rewatched the last week's episode, and he said you need to hold on to the desk and don't move your hands for the entire show because I kept banging on the table. I can't help it. I'm very passionate about things.
I didn't even notice. that. Oh, wow.
I'm not allowed to bang on the table.
The beard is working for me. Yeah, it is, because it's disguising the state of my face.
Whatever.
The face beard. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So, as you may have already realised, today's show is about spontaneous human combustion.
Yes, it is.
And that's something that Jamie's wanted to do since we began.
It's been a burning desire of mine.
Okay.
Okay, Granddad.
What? Yeah, Granddad joke. No, what it is I first heard about this when I was quite young. I saw it in a magazine or something, and it panicked me. It really put the shits up me because
Put the shits up me.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing, and it may not be a thing, but it probably is a thing. But the thing is, I felt so vulnerable from that moment on.
Well, yeah, you just never know when it was going to happen.
Erupt into flames.
Yeah, because I thought that, it can happen at any time. You could be doing anything or doing nothing at all. That can happen. You don't know what triggers it. You don't know how to prevent it. Things what you do, what could prevent it, could actually be causing it, and vice versa. It's really scary thought. I'm over that now, pretty much. But,
well, and like Kelly brought up before the show even started, something I had thought about is like, like women who are menopausal and they get the hot flashes and things like that. You wonder about that too. Like, do they, if they
like I was going to spontaneously combust,
do they think that they're gonna? Yeah.
I'm giving away my age now.
Sometimes I've pissed.
No, I've not, because I've not been through the menopause.
Sometimes I've pissed Lisa off enough that she almost spontaneously human combust.
True story.
But yeah, now Kelly actually put a good point there.
Yes, and I'm going to address that at the end.
Oh, I was thinking.
I was pondering this as well. Like, is it
sure.
Spontaneous animal combustion? I was pondering this. It's not in the main crux of the show, but I did Google it, so I have got an answer for you, but we'll discuss that at the end.
Okay. Sounds
I
good.
was wondering, I finished writing it, and I was sitting looking at my dog.
Oh no! No!
Thinking,
Aww.
I wonder, not like if he's going to, like, God, I hope not.
It's too late now.
Please don't spontaneously combust Riley or any of my other animals. Thank you. Right, yeah. Does it happen? And I've looked it up, and it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I guess we'll be hearing about it.
Interesting.
I've actually got an idea, but yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Anywho,
so what is spontaneous human combustion? Well, as an extremely rare occurrence that some people have unfortunately been the victims of, as you've probably heard of it. Most people.
Everybody's heard at least one case.
And it's a harrowing experience that people could strike anyone at any unforgiven moment. They could be.
Hence why Jamie shat his little knickers when he was about 9 years old, and he found out.
That's why I lost all my hair. I've been worried about it. But yeah. And this is why it's even scarier, because in many of the cases, the only remnants left behind are the victim's lower extremities, ankles, and shoes. Completely unburnt, and sometimes a skull remains. So I'm thinking to myself, can I make a head shoe and a body shoe, and then I won't burn, because if it's just the shoes that remain.
Wow.
Can I make a head shoe?
You did put a lot of thought into it, didn't you?
On live television, can I make a fucking head shoe?
Yeah.
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
A head shoe, body shoe.
I'm sorry.
The old woman who lived in the shoe, she was all right because she put everyone in the shoe. Perhaps what she was doing, she was trying to save the world from human combustion. Oh my God, they lied and their pants caught fire.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, Kelly, they were all
Yes.
liars.
Yes. That's
See,
exactly
there's
what
a
might
theory that I thought I'd covered all the theories that were out there, but I've not actually got a section on liars.
Yeah.
So they could
No.
That could be down to their pants catching light, as you'll hear later on as well. But obviously skeptics and deniers.
There's always skeptics and
Yeah.
deniers for anything.
They just as nothing more than common house fires caused by cigarettes, candle use, or defective electricity devices, as you can imagine. And there is a lot of fires caused by them sort of things. I'm not going to deny that.
Mm-hmm.
In cases attributed with SHC, so we'll put a little title to it to make it sound cool.
We'll call it SHC because I couldn't be bothered saying spontaneous human combustion every 2 minutes. So when we say SHC, we're just being lazy, but that's what we're on about.
Yeah.
And I made Jamie start, so he has to say phenomenon because it's funny.
But in the fire cases attributed to SHC, the fire is very isolated, as we just said, and localized. Everything else in the room or wherever they are seem to be untouched and undamaged. Soot, maybe a little bit of soot, a bit of light burning, maybe, but and they're certainly around the actual individual. So that's what sets it off from other things. Mainly the first sort of sign of human combustion or suspicion of. As we're aware, household fire will usually ravage the house. And leave a sort of wreck in its wake, which we know we've heard of. We've seen these fires, and they do get out of hand really quickly. Usually, fire departments and investigators will and usually discover the probable cause of these fires.
Yeah.
But in these unique cases, they've been as baffled as we have because they don't know. They're looking at it and they're saying, why didn't it spread? They've got a carpet underneath them, but it's only spread for a little bit and not moved on. I know more nowadays they make anti-flammable items, but
and it is baffling. I mean, researching this, I thought, I'm going to get an answer.
That would have been too easy. Too easy.
No, it's baffling. Every spoiler alert: every single one of the theories has got a problem with why it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So. This episode is basically going to be split into like 2 sections. First of all, we're
going to learn to speak.
Rewind.
So, firstly, we're going to look at cases attributed to SHC. See what I did there? It does. Yeah, I did write it in full, but I thought it'd be lazy and I've ended up saying more by explaining it to you.
Yeah, and that's going to get even worse because somebody's going to come on late and go, "What's SHC?"
What's SHC?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like.
Can't imagine that.
So, obviously, we're not going to look at all the cases because there are at least 300 that's been recorded.
300?
Which does sound like a lot, but when you this is going back to the 14th century.
It's not very many.
That's the one that's actually been recorded. So we're not going to go over them all because we done a really, really long episode last week and I'm not doing that again.
No.
I was so tired. I was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I thought,
it was a record.
So we're going to try and make sense of what is happening to these people and look at the cases and then the theories as to why it's happening and see if we can make sense of it. And as I just said, spoiler alert, no, you can't. Anyway.
That's a good point, Kelly. As
we'll talk about that too, though.
So this topic has not just split the wider public, but the scientific community as well, with many believing it exists and others dismissing it entirely. They won't even entertain it as a possibility. So the best way, in my opinion, to investigate is to begin by looking at the victims. Look for certain consistencies in their deaths, in the cases where they actually died, because there is actual survivors, which I didn't know until I done this.
I didn't either.
No.
If there's any consistencies on the scene, any witness accounts, if available, because most of them, obviously there wasn't witnesses, but there is a few where there was witnesses, and basically try to determine if it's a real thing that's happening and try and figure out the hows and the whys.
Can I just disturb you for a second?
No.
I've just realised I'm safe from human combustion.
You won't have to worry about it.
I'm safe.
You're
I'm safe,
safe.
everybody.
Yeah, so it only took you about 30 years, right? Yeah. Anywho, obviously, I'm not suggesting that we're going to find an answer. We're not. It's an age-old question. It's something that's been needing answered for at least now 600 years. But nobody's got an answer. There's been many suggestions. And we may even come out at the end even more confused than we went in, or with an entirely different point of view to what we went in. Even amongst each other, I might think one thing, and Danielle might think something completely different. In which case, I'll have to just talk at her until she agrees with me.
Well, see, I had theories, but that's gone out the window.
Yeah. Oh, but like the ones that I sort of lean towards have gone out the window as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to try and understand this bizarre phenomenon. So without any further ado, let's get into the documented cases. And Danielle,
let's get into it. Yeah, this goes back to like the 14th century, actually, that we found information. The earliest recorded report of spontaneous human combustion dates all the way back to the late Middle Ages in Milan. In 1470, an Italian knight named Polonius Vorstius consumed what is referred to as 2 ladles of wine.
Big ladles.
Yeah. I don't know what a ladle is. That like what you serve with?
Like a cup ladle, but like I don't know how big of a ladle.
And remember, everybody, he's a knight, so he's wearing metal armor.
He's not necessarily wasn't dressed up in his work clothes.
He was.
His work clothes. He didn't.
His work clothes. A Nickety canoe.
That's too funny. Anyway. So anyway, he was reported to have had 2 ladles of wine. And according to the story, he first started to cough up fire before spontaneously bursting into flames in front of his horrified family, of course. And this wasn't officially recorded until some 200 years later, when the descendants of Polonius Vorstius gave this historical account to a Danish medical expert named Thomas Barthelin, which he included in Historium Anatomicarum. Okay, why do I get these? Historium.
Oh my God. Yeah, I got the right slide.
And Anatomicarum
Rarium.
That sounds like a spell off of Harry Potter, doesn't it?
You know, I actually took Latin in high school, but
Historium Anatomicarum Rarium. And if I've just said a weird spell and somebody's turned into a frog, I do apologize.
So it was cataloged strange and rare, of course, medical cases throughout history. So it is likely that over the 200 years, the story was embellished just a smidgen, you know, or to one level of degree. It is evident that he most definitely died as a result of burning, but whether he was actually coughing up fire is unknown, of course.
I just thought of a brilliant scenario. What about if he wasn't Polonius and he was George and he was fighting a dragon and fire came out of his breath? That'd be immense, wouldn't it? That'd be immaculate. That would
to be in Jamie's head for 5 minutes, you know.
Fight fire with fire.
Terrifying. And,
I'll get that pesky dragon.
This is an illustration from the book Italian Medieval Armies, 1300 to 1500, depicting an Italian knight's attire, which Jamie claims he was wearing, circa 1425.
Yeah.
That's their work clothes?
Yeah, that's it. This is his work clothes, everybody. So just so you've got a visual of what I couldn't actually, obviously, there's no...
Why is the one in the top left got a pillow slip on his head?
No idea.
And why is the other one that he got one metal leg? Is that, you know, he doesn't care about the other one?
That's like C-3PO.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the silver leg.
Silver leg. Yeah.
And the other one's got a nappy on.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
Nappy. Diapers.
Yeah, so that's maybe what he looked like.
Maybe.
Yeah. Probably not, but yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no pictures of him.
So,
Thank goodness.
No, I hate to think. Yeah. Interesting.
Is it me?
That's you.
Why are we not in a row anymore?
No way, huh? Actually, it's Jamie.
Is it?
It's you. See, I knew it wasn't me.
Yeah, that's because I was too busy. I was looking
He was
at
too busy looking
pictures.
at pillow slips on people's heads.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't me.
Sorry, everybody. Right, 1725 Paris.
Paris. We're in Paris.
Nicole Millet. Hey, Nicole, Papa, Paris. Brilliant. Yeah.
Oui, oui.
I'm sure it's not Nicole Millet. It's probably
No,
Malay.
Malay.
Right. Nicole Millet. Yeah, the wife of Parisian Innkeeper. Parisian, sorry. Innkeeper in 1725 was found after her husband roused the entire inn where he smelled smoke. Here we go. Started, everybody. What was left of her was in the kitchen, almost completely reduced to ash, with the wooden utensils around her unburnt. See, again. Other accounts have her burnt on the straw pallet with the straw only a little damaged. Again, we can't verify. We wasn't there, so we don't know.
This one, I will give it. It might be a bit suspicious.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine the straw pallet, like, was that like the bedding?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just copying what it said because I don't know. I mean, why would you be in a straw pallet in the kitchen?
All right. Yeah.
But then it is 1725, and they might have done that weird
They done
shit.
weird stuff then. Yeah. It looked suspicious, and so her husband...
It did look suspicious.
Yeah.
Like I should imagine.
So her husband was tried and found guilty of murder. On appeal, though, he used the spontaneous human combustion defense and was exonerated.
See?
Yeah, that's not going to wash today, unfortunately.
So, was it? Was it
Yeah.
murder? But then why would he murder her and then wake everybody up?
Yeah. Why would you? Look what I've done. I'm going to get away with this, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell everybody.
Yeah.
I'll blame it on...
Well, he did. He got away with it. He was exonerated. And what did he blame it on?
And yeah.
Nicole's death was found to be due to a visitation of God.
Yeah, they blamed God.
They blamed God.
Why would God send her?
25. And they were probably a bit weird.
Wow.
Yeah. But that might have been a murder.
Maybe we ought to investigate the murder, see what she was doing before. Perhaps that's another show.
Probably wouldn't have that information, Jamie. We've not got it on CCTV wandering around Paris.
No, because they didn't even have CCTV in the Starbucks.
Now, 1731. 15th of March, 1731. SHC is said to have claimed at least one victim of nobility. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. On March the 14th, 1731, 66-year-old Countess Cornelia Zangiri Bandi, that's a mouthful, isn't it, went about her usual routine. At bedtime, she spent some time conversing with her maid and then said her prayers and went to sleep. In the morning, realizing she had not risen at her usual time, the maid entered the bedchamber and called out, but got no response. The room was dark, so she made her way to the window, opened the curtains in the window, and then turned back towards the room, where she was faced with what is documented as being quite a horrific scene. The following is actually, I found a medical report from...
I couldn't believe that.
From 1731. I was like, oh my God, Jamie, I found a medical report. So the following is from the actual report taken at the time. It was written by the Reverend Joseph Bianchi, and it's on a document called A Prebend in the City of Verona upon the death of Countess Cornelia Zangari and Bandi of Cesena. And this is what it says. So it is worded a bit weirdly, obviously, 1700s, but this is exactly what it says. Shall I put it on the screen so people can read along with me? Let's read it together. If I can find the slide. Right. 4 feet distance from the bed, there was a heap of ashes, 2 legs untouched from the foot to the knee, with their stockings on. Between them was the lady's head, whose brains, half of the back part of the skull, and they spelt skull wrong because it says 1700s, and it doesn't say that, I just made that, but I just added that in, and the whole chin were burnt to ashes, amongst which were found 3 fingers blackened. All the rest was ashes, which had this particular quality that they left in the hand. So they were right in there touching it.
Wow.
Yeah. When taken up, a greasy and stinking moisture. The air in the room also observed cumbered with soot floating in it. A small oil lamp on the floor was covered with ashes, but no oil in it. 2 candles and candlesticks upon a table stood upright, so they hadn't melted. The cotton was left in both, but the tallow was gone and vanished. Somewhat of moisture was about the feet of the candlesticks. The bed received no damage. The blankets and sheets were only raised on one side, as when a person rises up from it or goes in. The whole furniture, as well as the bed, was spread over with moist and ash-coloured soot, which had penetrated into the chest of drawers, even to foul the linens. Nay, the soot was also gone into a neighbouring kitchen, and hung on the walls, movables, aid utensils of it. And I don't know what aid utensils of it means, but that's what he wrote, so I'm just going to read it.
Okay.
This bit's weird. From the pantry, a piece of bread covered with that soot and brown black was given to several dogs, all of which refused to eat it. Well, no wonder.
Ew.
Poor dogs. Anyway, in the room above it was moreover taken notice that from the lower part of the windows trickled down a greasy, loathsome, yellowish liqueur, and thereabout they smelled like a stink.
Ew.
It smelled like a stink. This is in the room above it, without knowing of what, and saw the soot fly around. It was remarkable that the floor of the chamber was so thick smeared with a gluish moisture that it could not be taken off, and the stink spread more and more through the other chambers.
Okay, that's very descriptive. That's
It is,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're quite descriptive, aren't they?
well, I guess it was a report, but ugh.
Ugh. Yeah,
They've done a thorough report.
they,
we can say that.
they're quite thorough there.
Yeah. So Cornelia is said to have enjoyed a brandy before bed and often found some relief from rubbing brandy into her calves, which she suffered some
weird.
considerable
That's
pain.
it's weird. I mean, it's not going to help, love. Rubbing brandy into your calves is not going to help your pain.
But there was those old wives' tales and things like that, and I'm sure maybe they thought something medicinal. I don't know. So she suffered some considerable pain in her calves as she, her years progressed and got older. And this has been cited as a possible accelerant to the fire, which may have started from candles. And then the alcohol rubbed into her legs aided in setting her body alight. This, however, doesn't make sense when you look at the document report of the scene from the time. Her legs were unaffected up to the knees. So if the rubbing alcohol was on there,
Well, our calves, you'd think
it
they'd be.
didn't make it didn't make it burn any differently or any, or more. I mean, that's what was remaining. So this was in fact the least affected area of all. Also, the cotton or the wicks in the candle.
If I cover myself in brandy, I'm safe. Right. I'm making notes.
Are you making notes? Write it all
I'm
down.
making notes.
Giant shoe brandy. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, also the cotton and the wicks in the candle, they hadn't burned at all. And they were left intact in the candles. So the proposition that they started the fire doesn't make sense either. The area around the candles on the table by the bed was unaffected by the fire, apart from soot and a weird moisture, which we heard about. All of the burn damage was confined to the area directly surrounding Cornelia's remains. This is another thing to note in the case of SHC. While many are found in a seated position, Cornelia is said to have probably woke in the middle of the night and was en route to open the window to get some air when the fire started. And yet she stood there in that one spot and just allowed her body to be reduced to ashes. She did not move. She did not run for help.
Didn't scream either.
Didn't scream. That's amazing. This is a common finding in these cases. Victims just stand there or sit there and burn to death and make no attempt to save themselves, which suggests whatever is happening happens so quickly that they're unable to, or when it begins, they become incapacitated or unconscious or unable to move, some kind of state, trance, shock, something.
Yeah.
No.
It's very strange whether they just don't seem, they just sit there.
Now, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to bring this up in an example, a ridiculous example at the end, but remember the Brandy. That's all I'll say.
Oh,
Remember
of course.
Brandy.
Yeah, of course it is.
Just as a side note, I couldn't obviously find a picture of Cornelia. However, random information for you. She was the mother of somebody called Giovanni Carlo, who was a cardinal of the Catholic Church. And she was also the grandmother of Pope Pius VI, whose mother was actually her daughter, Anna Teresa Brandy.
Okay, wait, slow down. Wait, read that last part. So she was the mother of the.
I've got a picture.
The mother of the daughter.
Right. Here we have on the left. That is Giovanni Carlo. That is her son.
Cornelia's son.
Yeah. And on the right, we've got her grandson, who is Giovanni Angelo Braschi, and that is Pope Pius VI. His mother is Cornelia's daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
That's going to help us out
sense.
zero, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
just a little interesting fact for you that she was a Pope's granny.
right. Well, I guess it's interesting, but yeah. Christmas 1885. What a good year for Christmas that was. Apart from this
incident that we're going to just tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On December the 25th, 1885, Matilda Rooney and her husband Patrick died in their farmhouse under strange circumstances. Matilda was alone in her kitchen late on Christmas Eve in 1885 in Seneca, Illinois. Is that right?
Seneca. Seneca.
Yeah, Seneca. That one too. She moved. Except for her feet, the flames swiftly consumed her entire body.
Again, except for her feet.
Yes, there's something in the shoes. If she would wear
I didn't
shoes.
even say if she was wearing shoes. You're just assuming she's got shoes on. Who knows? She might not actually have her stocking feet on.
Oh, well, yeah, if she's like me, she might only have one shoe on, and then she's got one bed. Anyway, that's a different story. Anyway,
Okay, I know. Don't even go there.
yeah. Apart from Patrick, the husband, nothing else in the room was harmed.
Oh, this is weird.
He was discovered dead in a rocking rocker.
A
It's
rocking
chair,
rocker.
basically a rocking chair in it, in the kitchen. But the fire had not burnt his corpse. According to a verdict, he had passed out and been asphyxiated by smoke from his wife's burning body.
And this is weird. So she's caught on fire. And obviously she's not reacted at all. She's not screamed because he's just stayed sleeping.
Okay.
He's not woke up. And he's just stayed sleeping and died of the smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
So she's obviously just not reacted at all to just setting on fire.
That's strange.
Yeah. The fire began within his wife's body and lingered there. The catastrophe mystified investigators. Catastrophe. Why? I knew that's catastrophe. I didn't.
The catastrophe.
Yeah.
The catastrophe.
There was no cause to suspect any wrongdoing. Why did I say that like that?
Catastrophe. The
catastrophe. Yeah. Catastrophe. Oh, now really.
Catastrophe. It's like catastrophe.
Go with it.
That evening, the Rooneys were unwinding and sipping whiskey, not sleeping whiskey.
Are you all right? Are you all right, Jamie?
Yeah.
You've got him off his game.
Brandy. I've dosed myself in brandy before the show, but I haven't, by the way. Nothing unusual had been detected by a farmhand who had spent a few hours with them. Furthermore, there was no source of ignition for the fire. Yeah.
Very strange.
Very strange. Bloody hell.
Oh, man.
So let's move on for that catastrophe. It was Jamie reading catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
We're now going to skip forward. That was 1885. A little bit further forward. July 1951. 66-year-old. See, that's 66. I didn't even notice that. That's two of them at 66.
Was it?
Yeah. Cornelia was 66. Weird.
Didn't realize that either.
But it's only 2 out of 300, so it's not like, yeah. Anyway, 66-year-old Mary Reeser, this is probably the one that most of you have heard of because it's one of the most famous cases, had recently moved to Florida to be near her son.
Yeah.
And she lived in an apartment on 1200 Jerry Street, Northeast. On the evening of July the 1st, 1951, her son visited with his young daughter. Mary was reported to be wearing her bedclothes when they left, which consisted of a nightgown, robe, and slippers. See, slippers, Jamie. Not
Slippers,
shoes.
not shoes.
Slippers.
Well, there's some might count.
As they left, Mary was sat in her favourite chair in the corner of the room. The following morning, a courier arrived with a telegram for Mary from a friend back in Pennsylvania.
Dracula.
Why Dracula? That's Transylvania.
Oh, yeah. he moved too. He moved. I thought you said Transylvania. Pennsylvania.
Why? Dracula lives in Pennsylvania. Everybody.
He moved. He moved.
2 different countries too. There.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Transylvania, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. She didn't have a telegram from her friend in Transylvania. Oh, nay.
That'd be interesting, though, wouldn't it? Anyway.
We're very sorry. We're
Are
sorry.
you going to take him out of there?
Oh, no, you put me in the wrong place.
Yeah. So a friend in Pennsylvania sent her a telegram, but the courier, he couldn't get any answer, so he summoned the landlady of the apartments, who tried the doorknob and felt it was hot to the touch. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. The police were then called, and they gained entry into the apartment.
Did they not touch the knob? Is that what the difference is? So the police had the intelligence not to grab the hot doorknob.
She probably said it's hot. Don't touch it.
Probably, yeah, I would imagine she told him. Yeah. So once inside, the officers found the apartment to be unusually warm, despite the fact that several windows were open. One described the air in the apartment. I'm turning into Jamie.
Oh my gosh.
It's infectious.
I'm afraid to read.
Yeah. One described the air in the apartment as being akin to walking into Dante's Inferno. And it's also, I should just add, there was 2 fans blowing as well, and they were still on. So she had 2 fans on, because obviously it's quite warm in Florida. She's come from Pennsylvania. I don't know if it's colder there. So
Not Transylvania.
Yeah, it's definitely freezing in Transylvania, I should imagine. Yeah. So in the corner of the room, they discovered what remained of Mary Reeser, still in her chair in the corner, but reduced to a pile of ash, with the exception of her left foot. Still wearing that slipper.
See, what was the difference between the left foot and the right foot?
Maybe she only had one shoe on. I don't know.
Maybe she had old socks on.
It was still wearing that slipper. The rest of the apartment was completely undisturbed and unaffected by the fire, obviously, apart from the suit that engulfed Mary's body. In the corner where the carnage had clearly unfolded, there was a melted clock that had stopped at 4:20 a.m. Some reports do state that nowadays, I'm going to just straight away, I looked into this. Now, there's a lot of things, if you look it up on the internet, Mary Reeser case, there's a lot of reports that say that a shrunken skull was found amidst the remains.
What?
And I'm going to call bullshit on that, obviously, because it's ridiculous. It's
Shrunken
absolutely
skull?
ridiculous. However, what I did find when I was looking, all the places that say that there was a shrunken skull found amidst the remains come from sources where it's skeptical people telling you what happened, as if they're putting that in to make it ridiculous.
To make it really, yeah.
Yeah. They claim that they claim that there was a shrunken skull. Well, who claims? Because you're the one claiming it. So it seems to be all the skeptical more sources that are saying that it's been reported there was a shrunken skull. It's not. In the official report, it's just her foot. It's like they're just adding this on to make it ridiculous.
To make it sound more stupid than what it is.
Anywho, before we move on, I've got a couple of pictures for you.
Okay.
Now, first up, this is Mary Reeser.
Yeah.
Oh, she looks like a sweet lady.
She does look like a sweet little old lady.
Yeah.
And there is another picture, but I'm going to let Danielle tell you a little bit more before we get into the other picture.
Before we get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unsurprisingly, given the bizarre nature of death, the police were stumped. Who wouldn't be? This was no ordinary fire, obviously. They estimated that a fire of 3,000 degrees burning for several hours would be needed to consume a human body human being so thoroughly and reduce the bones to ash.
Oh.
But with that hot burning for that long,
just slightly.
why?
thought
Did I freeze for a moment?
Just
I
for a
thought
minute.
I thought we'd fell off. I was like, oh my god, right. Go on then.
What was the last thing you heard me say?
Ash. Bones to ash.
All right, burnt ash. Okay, so but with a fire that hot, burning for that long, why wasn't the rest of the apartment burning as well? If not the entire building, completely burned down. I mean, they're talking 3,000, at least 3,000 degrees.
That's hot, by the way. Hot.
That's hot. St. Petersburg, Florida police solicited the help of the FBI because, well, they always trust the FBI.
Yeah, because
But
the
the Bureau couldn't shed any light on the situation.
not initially, anyway.
So a physical anthropologist named Wilton Krogman, a consultant on the case, wrote, quote, "I find it hard to believe that a human body, once ignited, will literally consume itself, burn itself out, as does a candle wick. Never have I seen a body so completely consumed by heat. This is contrary to normal experience, and I regard it as the most amazing thing I have ever seen. As I review it, the short hairs on my neck bristle with vague fear. Were I living in the Middle Ages, I'd mutter something about black magic," end quote. So we do have a photo.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
But
and this is one of two photos we're going to show you.
Yeah, if I mean it's a black and white photo, black and white image of some remains.
It's basically a foot, everybody.
If you'd rather not look, I would suggest you just
This is the picture that I saw when I was younger. And
this is the exact picture that freaked Jamie out when he was 9 or 10. If you don't want to see a picture of a human foot, close your eyes now, and I'll tell you when you can open them again. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Close your eyes. Oh, wait a minute. Keep them closed. Keep them closed. Don't open them. Don't open them. Right, there we go. And that is just first one is the scene of the death being cleaned up, and the second one is her actual foot.
It is just so strange. It's like it stopped. Why? It just
stopped, and the slipper is just completely intact. There's no
it's not melted. It's not
no damage to it. And I'm now just going to put us back, and if you had your eyes closed, you can now open them.
Wakey, everyone! Back in the room.
Yeah, back in the room. Back in the room. Yeah.
Back with us.
Hello.
Yeah, it's remarkable that it was left intact like that, and again, it wasn't melted.
It's weird.
It's very strange.
And I've lost track of who just said something. Was it
You
Danielle?
lost track of what?
Who is it?
That's me now.
That's Jamie, isn't it?
Yeah. On July 7th, 1951, St. Petersburg Police Chief J.R. Reichert, that'll do, sent a box of evidence from the scene to the FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover.
Because he's reliable.
Yeah. He included glass fragments found in the ashes, 6 small objects thought to be teeth, a section of the carpet, and the surviving shoe. Reichert concluded in his notes saying, "We request any information or theories that could explain how a human body could be so destroyed and the fire confined to such a small area, and so little damage done to the structure of the building and the furniture, as was said before, or not even scorched or damaged by smoke, so none of the furniture damaged, as was said as well." The FBI eventually...
That's the police chief. He's like, what the...
Yeah, so
what the bloody hell happened here?
He sees us weird. Yeah. The FBI eventually declared that Risa had been incinerated by the wick effect.
The wick effect, which we'll go into more later.
Yeah, she may have spilt brandy on her lower leg, I know. As she was known user of sleeping pills, they hypothesized.
Oh my God! I'm going to read it.
Put it in there.
I'm going to read it because he's
Actually,
getting
follow
No,
up.
let him go. Let him go. Let him go.
Had fallen unconscious while smoking and set fire to her nightclothes. So,
yeah,
they've tried to find. I mean, we don't know if this is proof. They just come up with this reason, but whatever. The FBI wrote in its report, once the body starts to burn, there is enough fat and other inflammable substances to permit varying amounts of destruction to take place. Sometimes this destruction by burning will proceed to a degree which result in almost complete combustion of the body. Authorities and experts in St. Petersburg, as well as the officer who first responded, rejected this hypothesis, saying it's bullshit, basically.
I'm sure that, but I'm sure they had to kind of like reach for straws, but this is something that is not common at all.
No.
So they were probably coming up with any idea that would make any kind of sense.
And from there, we're going to go to September 1967. So, in 1967, there was a passenger on a bus in England just going to work early in the morning, and they noticed blue flames. Now, pay attention.
Strange.
Blue flames.
Yeah.
You might hear this again. In the window of an abandoned apartment building hallway. That's a flat if you're in the UK. I said apartment building for Danielle because I thought Danielle might be reading it, but it was a flat, an abandoned flat. She thought it was a gas jet and called the fire brigade. It was 5:19 a.m. And she's crazy for being on a bus at 5:19 a.m. But she was obviously going to work, so whatever.
She thought it was a gas jet? Okay.
I don't know if that's like a thing in the 60s. I don't know. What? A gas jet? Yeah, that's what she thought it was. It might have been a comment. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, Fire Officer Jack Stacey was first on the scene, arriving at approximately 5:24 a.m. So 5-minute turnaround. Well done. That's quite good. Yeah, they probably couldn't do that now. And what confronted him was inexplicable. He saw the burning body of victim Robert Francis Bailey, who was a homeless man.
All right.
Now, describing the scene, Jack said, and this is a direct quote, "When I got in through the window, I found the body of a tramp." I don't know. Do you call them tramps in America?
No, but we're familiar with the term, but it's not what we refer to them as.
Yeah. It's not very nice, but it's the 1960s, and that's what he said. This is him saying that. So I found the body of a tramp named Bailey lying at the bottom of the stairs leading up to the second floor.
Yeah.
He was lying partly on his left side. Now, this bit. Oh my God. There was a 4-inch slit in his abdomen from which was issuing at force a blue flame. So blue flames were just forcibly coming out of his abdomen.
That doesn't sound right.
The flame was beginning to burn the wooden stairs. We extinguished the flames by placing the hose into the abdominal cavity. They had to actually shove the hose into his abdomen to extinguish the fire.
I mean, burning flames, blue flames in your stomach is bad, but
right. So, and he's this is his hypothesis here. Bailey was alive when he started burning. He must have been in terrible pain. His teeth were sunk into the mahogany newel post on the staircase.
Oh my gosh!
This might not be. He might not have been alive. There is another theory that that was something to do with the contraptions in his body during death that had clamped his jaw onto it. So that is another theory. But he's hypothesizing that he was alive when he started burning. But then he goes on to say, "I had to prise his jaws apart to release the body."
Mm-hmm.
The fire was coming from within the abdomen of his body. Robert Francis Bailey's original cause of death was determined to be asphyxia due to inhalation of fire fumes. But after reviewing the case further, his death was deemed to have been due to
unknown causes.
Unknown causes.
Mhm.
Unwilling to recognise spontaneous human combustion as a reason for his death, investigators cite that Bailey's alcoholism may have been a probable cause for the fire.
Once again, just grasping. They're not sure. They don't know.
They're just making shit up now to try and explain it away.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of what they make up, but whatever. Is it still me?
No.
No.
I was just reading
Oh.
Kelly's comment about the Clintons.
Yeah.
Oh, too funny. So in 1986, now we're going to go on to 1986.
This is still the same bloke. That's
Oh, it is the same.
That's a fireman.
The fireman.
The fireman.
Okay.
That found a homeless man, but he was interviewed on the BBC in 1986.
I see. Okay. Yep. So in 1986, Stacy was interviewed on the BBC television program Newsnight, and he went into detail, quote, "The flame itself was coming from the abdomen. There was a slit of about 4 inches in the abdomen, and the flame was coming through there at force, like a blow lamp, a bluish flame, which would indicate that there was some kind of spirit involved in it. There's no doubt whatsoever that fire began inside the body. That's the only place it could have begun, inside the body," end quote. A search of his body revealed no portable sources of ignition, like lighters or, etc., or inflammable substances. He was a non-smoker, and it was hypothesized that being a homeless alcoholic, he may have drank methylated spirits, resulting in the bizarre fire, probably like the color of the fire there too. But this was just speculation.
Yeah, because they were looking, obviously, there was a blue flame. There must have been spirits involved. So,
Yeah.
He's an alcoholic. We're just going to decide that he's drunk methylated spirits. No evidence that he's drunk it.
No,
There's not a bottle of methylated spirits on the scene empty or anything. They've just decided.
I'm just going to go there. So again, it was just a speculation. There were no tests that were apparently carried out to the theory. It was merely just assumed. So we do have an actual picture of the body. Again, This is another one with some graphic content. This is not just a leg this time. It still is a black and white photo.
Yeah. So if you don't want to see it, close your eyes now, and I'll tell you when you can open them again. Right. So there we go. That is an actual picture from the scene of his body as it was discovered. And I'm now going to take that off. And you may open your eyes.
Open your eyes again.
Open your eyes. It's all fine. It's gone. It's gone, everybody.
That's quite bad, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, March 1970. Margaret Hogan was a 89-year-old widow who lived alone in the house on Prussia Street, Dublin, Ireland. She was found burnt almost to the point of complete destruction on the 28th of March 1970. Plastic flowers on a table in the centre of the room had been reduced to liquid, and a television with a metal screen sat 12 feet from the armchair in which the ashen remains were found. Otherwise, the surroundings were almost untouched, as we've said before. Her 2 feet and both legs from below the knee were undamaged. A small coal fire had been burning in the grate when the neighbour left the house the previous day. However, no connection between this fire and that in which Miss Hogan died could be found. An inquest held on the 3rd of April 1970 recorded death by burning, with the cause of fire listed as unknown. So again, we've got unknown. So they're saying there's a fire, obviously, because there's a burn.
Mhm.
But they wouldn't. A lot of them just wouldn't go there and say spontaneous. You mean they wouldn't do it?
No.
Right, and that picture was just a little picture of the street and a little newspaper article from the time.
And a Volkswagen Beetle.
We're now going to go on to 1980, and we're in Wales in the UK. So in 1980, 73-year-old Henry Thomas was discovered dead in the living room of his communal house in South Wales. Thomas had been reclining in his easy chair when he caught on an intense fire around the top of his body and died. Mr. Thomas's legs and cranium were all that remained of him. His feet were strangely unburned, and what remained of his legs were still dressed in socks, and the very bottom of his trouser legs were still completely there.
Wow.
So we had a small couple of inches of trouser leg, his socks and his shoes completely intact. Although there were indications of a fire in the fireplace, it did not appear to have spread. So that had stayed contained within, it was a completely separate fire, and it was deemed that it wasn't connected to whatever killed him. One of the theories that is non-spontaneous human combustion around his death is bizarre, to be honest, but I'll tell you what it is. Basically, they posit that he had been near the fire and he'd set his hair on fire, and then he'd just wandered on back to his chair and sat down, completely ignorant of the fact that his hair is on fire, which you would smell because I've actually set my hair on fire and it stinks.
Well, it has a specific.
You can smell burning hair. Anyway, so he's completely unaware that his hair's on fire and just wandered back across the room and just sat in his chair.
And burnt to death.
So the professional crime scene investigator who examined that area stated that if a guy had been seated when he saw that his hair was on fire, he wouldn't have just sat there, because about to get to the stage, even if he'd managed to walk back
What's that smell?
Even if he'd managed to walk back across the room and sit down with his hair on fire, there's bound to get to a stage where you realise that your fucking hair's on fire. You're not just going to sit there and allow yourself to just reduce to ash.
If it starts burning other things, you got clothing on and whatever.
You're just not going. You're not going to sit there.
You're going to smell it. You're going to feel it.
Yeah.
But there was no mention of his death was eventually deemed death by fire, where obviously no mention of SHC, because
it's probably conspiracy theory.
It's an urban myth, apparently.
Yeah. Well, in 1982, one spontaneous human combustion case that particularly stands out is Jeannie Saffin's death. Jeannie Saffin was born with congenital abnormalities in Edmonton, London, resulting in mental disabilities that limited her abilities to those of a child. Her death occurred when she was 61 years old. She was with her father, Jack Saffin, and brother-in-law, Don Carroll, at their Edmonton home on September 15th, 1982. In the kitchen, Jeannie was seated with her father. When something took Jack Saffin's attention away from Jeannie, he noticed his daughter on fire. Just probably glanced back and...
Just like seconds, and she's on fire.
Yeah, sitting at the table. Jack and Don used water from the kitchen to put out the fire before calling an ambulance. Paramedics treated Jeannie on the way to the hospital, where she was treated until she died 8 days later from bronchopneumonia due to burns. Investigators are baffled since neither Jeannie's chair nor the adjacent walls were harmed by the fire or smoke, and the fire had no clear ignition source. PC Lee Marsden of Edmonton Police Station believed it was an instance of spontaneous human combustion.
The police officer actually believed it.
Probably one of the first to say it.
Yeah.
The coroner disagreed, claiming there was no such thing, and rendered...
Shut up. There's not... No.
Yeah, and rendered an open judgment. Her brother-in-law, Don Carroll, said, again, a blue flame shot from Miss Saffin's stomach as she sat at her kitchen table.
Blue flames from the abdomen again.
Yeah, quote, "She was roaring like a dragon," he said. "The kitchen wasn't damaged, but her cardigan melted. The inquest never sorted it out, but I know what I saw," end quote.
Weird.
Flame, it is weird.
This
probably the only common denominator other than the lower extremities not being affected, right?
Yeah, you've got the blue flame and the lower extremity. And there's been a couple instances of a couple of fingers and maybe part of the skull, but the feet seem to you still got the skin's intact, the clothes are intact, your socks are fine, your shoes are fine, or a slipper or whatever. It's weird.
And these people are quick to say, this isn't such a thing, but then they use the excuse of undetermined or unknown and things like that. Well, that's just a cop-out, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're telling us that doesn't exist, what the hell is it then?
Yeah. You're telling us what it isn't. Tell us what it is.
Tell us what it is.
If you're that determined that it's not spontaneous human combustion, then give me an explanation that makes sense.
Yeah. We get into a little bit about what the theories may be, but
yeah.
Right, now we're in June 1995. In June 1995, decorated Vietnam War veteran Frank Baker. Have we got a picture? No.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Yes, we do.
Got the surprise of a lifetime, and by that we meant he burst into flames. Baker and his fishing buddy, Pete Willie, were all set for the next day's derby, and the two were passing the time inside on the couch. All of a sudden, the man with 2 Purple Hearts and a gallantry medal found himself under a different kind of fire.
Wow.
Fortunately, the men were able to extinguish the fire, licking Baker's forearm and torso and get him to the hospital. There, the doctor informed Baker that his injuries were like nothing he'd ever seen before. The fire seemed to have burnt from the inside out, which incidentally is a common observation in cases of SHC.
Yeah, so even the doctor's like, I've never seen anything like this before. Now, he survived, but just bear in mind that the fire, it was his arm that went on fire this time. So you've heard like the blue flame shooting out of some people's abdomen, which is it comes into the theories later where people go on about things to do with the digestive system, but this was his arm that went on fire. I
totally heard that wrong, the way that was. So when you said they were able to extinguish the fire, licking Baker's forearm and torso, they were licking his forearm and torso.
No, the fire was licking.
I know, but that's not how I heard it.
They didn't extinguish it with the saliva. I
know. Everyone started licking his arm. Quick, what are we going to do? Get some water.
There's a fire. What are we going to do? Quick.
I know.
Lick it.
That's how I heard.
Yeah. I must admit, when I started reading it, I was like, oh.
Yeah. See, you thought so too. Right.
I actually watched this guy on a program or something, and I think he tried to douse it out, and it seemed to have stopped, and it flashed up again, and they had to do it again. Yeah, I remember seeing that one.
Right, and then we're now in 2011. Now, Michael Faherty is a 76-year-old pensioner from County Galloway in Ireland. He was found in his living room, burnt to a crisp. There was an open fire in the fireplace next to him, but that fire seemed to have been contained within the fireplace. In addition to Faherty, the scorched areas included the floor directly below him and the ceiling above him. Forensics showed that the fire in the fireplace was not the same as the kind that burned Faherty, so they can they determined that it was a completely different kind of fire, and that no accelerant had been used. No foul play was expected. At the hearing in September 2011, I've got a picture here, just really quickly, and I'm putting that on the screen as I say it. So that is the medical examiner, Dr. Kieran McLaughlin. This is what he said. This fire was thoroughly investigated, and I'm left with the conclusion that it fits into the category of spontaneous human combustion, for which there is no adequate explanation. And that's a coroner actually recording that as the cause of death. He added that he had never encountered such a case in his 25 years on the job.
Yeah.
So
that's probably why he was so honest with it, because he was so taken back. And
so that is actually Michael Faherty's cause of death is officially recorded as spontaneous human combustion, which is very rare because most coroners won't even entertain it.
They'll say it's undetermined, unknown, but
and that was the last case. Obviously there are many more, but that's the last case that we're going to go over. We'll give you a wide example going right back to...
I thought you were going to say that was the last case that medical examiner ever did because
Yeah, probably it was. Yeah,
You probably got fired. No,
fired.
Nobody was going to listen to him anymore.
I'll give you a wide example. There are many, many more. Obviously, would have been here forever, whenever them all, but it gives you an idea of the consistencies, the things that are similar, and what's going on.
Yeah, so now we're going to get into the kind of like the theories a little bit.
The many, many theories that have been posited by all different people from all different backgrounds as to what's actually going on.
Yeah, now disclaimer here. Obviously, these are not our theories necessarily or ones that we conform to, but
no, this is just all the theories that we found that people are trying to use to explain it.
Yeah, so we just heard of a few encounters, obviously. So what's really going on here?
I don't know, Danielle. What is going on? I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure either.
I still don't know, and I spent all week researching it. I think I ain't got a clue.
But there are many explanations and theories from mundane, simple explanations, scientific explanations, or extremely unusual explanations. So what do some scientists and experts say? Well, they refer to the oddity known as the Wick effect, and that's probably one of the more popular ones that most people have heard of. The Wick effect is a phenomenon where a body starts to burn, but the fat turns liquid, seeps into the clothing, and turns the body into a gruesome kind of human candle, burning things in the immediate vicinity. But because it's a slow burn, nothing else is affected. Advocates of SHC argue that the Wick effect has failed in past experiments to replicate the degree of bone incineration common to many of these cases, but this failure may be due primarily to the use of inappropriate subjects. The Wick effect can produce many of the unusual signs of spontaneous human combustion, such as the nearly complete incineration of the body and the lack of fire damage to the victim's surroundings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there has been a couple of people that's tried. I mean, somebody, I watched a couple of videos, tried doing it with some sort of substance that they put wood in the middle to replicate the bone, and they used some sort of like weird substance. I don't know if it was something that they use in ballistics. I can't remember what it's called. When they're doing gunshots things, they used that and tried to set fire. They also somewhere else done it with a pig.
Yes,
and they couldn't replicate the exact. But obviously, unless you've got a live human, you can't replicate it.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah,
scary, isn't it?
And we've got a little thing on screen just showing you what the
the theory.
Yeah. This is what they imagine happens. Obviously, they're just surmising, but that's the Wick theory.
But again, they're saying slowly burns, aren't they?
Yeah, slow burn.
So you would notice, like a candle is slow burn. If you were slow burning, you'd do something about it, wouldn't you?
You'd be reacting.
Like the floor, screaming, trying to get out.
You won't be like,
I'm just going to sit
slow
here
burning.
I'm going to sit here until just my foot's left.
Save some electric, turn off the light, and I can just illuminate the room with my body burning.
Especially with blue flames, when there's blue flames involved.
Yeah. I don't know. Bizarre.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Right. Water in the human body. The Wick effect sounds like it's all tied up neatly in a nice little neat bow. But personally, we can't get past a few factors. One being that the human body is made up of around 60 or 70% water. And secondly, to assume that obesity and alcoholism played a role in these deaths is frankly wrong. Not every victim was overweight, and not every victim had consumed alcohol either. Yeah. Again, it's ridiculous.
There was a few where alcohol was consumed or like rubbed on somebody's
rubbed on their legs
for whatever reason. So they just tarred everybody with the same brush and decided that they were all fat alcoholics, which is just disgusting, really. Just to it's just dismissing.
You can say it. That night who died in the 17th century. He weren't fat, was he? He must have been quite.
How do you know he wasn't fat? We've not got a picture of him.
I don't know. He
might have been a really fat knight.
He's got to squeeze into that little metal armor.
You don't know that he could have been really, really fat, Jamie. And you just
into the armor.
He's got to prize him in there. It's like a little
Yeah.
sardine in a tin. Squeeze him in there. Another caveat of this theory is that as we age, our bodies contain less water. It is possible that all these victims are elderly. Again, it's not true. While many were older, there have been victims recorded among all age ranges, from babies to teenagers to the middle aged and beyond. Can you imagine being a parent of a child?
Yeah, there was actually a case, I believe it was in India, of a baby that just burst into flames.
No, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Also, being a slow burn doesn't explain some of the cases where very short periods of time pass away between the victims being seen alive and, being seen as a pile of ash. It's so fast. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't buy it.
There is cases where it's like been an hour that they've seen the person alive and then they've found them and there's nothing left. So to say that is a slow burn for a start, and also I get into that later, like the time that it takes and it should take to reduce a human body to that state. Yeah, so some skeptics claim that SHC is pure fiction, and they point towards author Charles Dickens as the original source. And this is
so Charlie boy.
Just Charlie. Yeah, they claim that Charles Dickens fed the flames. Did you see what I did there?
Yeah.
Fed the flames of this myth by writing the fictional novel called Bleak House in 1853. So basically, they're like, he invented that in Bleak House.
Yeah, but we have cases prior to that.
No, he didn't. In this novel, Dickens writes about a character named Crook, with a K, who was an alcoholic that drank so much that he spontaneously caught on fire and burned to death. Upon investigating this theory, however, obviously we've got cases prior to 1853, but we determined that it's not true. It's a load of shite, basically. Mainly, not only because there's cases going back, like Countess Cornelia, who was obviously a victim of SHC in the 1700s, but in this very book that they're using as evidence that he created it when he wrote Bleak House, in this very novel, in the preface, Charles Dickens himself talks about Cornelia. So he's actually got it from, he's actually got influenced and inspiration from historical accounts of spontaneous human combustion. And although he does get her surname slightly wrong, he's talking about Cornelia, the countess. So in that very book, the evidence is there that he didn't create it.
When we were researching, that's what we were coming across. Like these people say, "Oh, it's from Charles Dickens." So I looked that up.
Charles Dickens created that. No, he didn't, because he even says it himself that he's been influenced by Cornelia.
He got the idea.
They looked at the book themselves. They've obviously heard it from someone else and think that's a great excuse. That's a great justification.
So read the bloody book. It's in the preface.
Well, I guess we'll all have to go out and get it now.
And I've also we've got a little illustration from an 1895 edition of Bleak House depicting the discovery of Crook's body.
That guy, old
interesting little illustration for you.
Where's the body supposed to be?
It's vanished, Danielle.
It's just a pile of ash on the chair, Danielle. I don't know. But even the cat's freaked out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know where the body's supposed to be, but it's there apparently. But
I mean, just the fact, like there were cases beforehand. Obviously, he got his ideas,
and he acknowledged it himself. He knew about Cornelia.
Yeah. So another theory, and this is extreme. So once again, I bear the disclaimer that this isn't necessarily our beliefs.
No.
But just theories that were found as Lisa researched some of this. So this is the extreme religious theory. Some people believe that SHC is God's holy fire. They claim that all the victims are Catholic, which is not something we could verify, obviously. it is apparent that a couple of victims were Catholic, like the grandmother of a pope, for example, but to assume that every single victim was Catholic is not proof of anything. There's no documented evidence of many of these people's religious or belief systems, period. So to just merely decide that they're all Catholic, thus servants of the devil, is
they call them that. They actually, there's websites where they'll call all the servants of the devil because they're Catholic.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to even.
Ridiculous.
But yep, that too.
You're gonna say it, and you thought, you going to Jamie?
Ridiculous. But many of these extreme religious believers cite the Bible as proof, which how many times has that been taken out of context or misquoted? But they're quoting things like
find something in the Bible to try and back up your bullshit.
Yeah, makes it sound more validating or credible. But they were quoting things like Numbers chapter 11, verse 1. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord, and the Lord heard it. And his anger was kindled. And the fire of the Lord burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp.
So obviously that's a larger story there, but they're just taking it a little bit.
Yeah. And then Ezekiel 28:18. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities. By the iniquity of thy traffic, therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee.
See, again, they've just took that small segment of from the vile mist of thee.
A little bit out of a larger story just to try and justify
the stomach part,
really
from the stomach.
Extreme prejudice, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, it may well be supernatural, as natural explanations really don't add up. However, to assume it only targets evil people or Catholics or anybody of a particular religious affiliation, and is some kind of wrath of God, it's a leap. You know, there's just a
stop blaming God.
Yeah, there's just as strong an argument that it is not God's wrath, but satanic, and the devil is causing these people to erupt into flames. Why does it have to be
more likely, in my opinion, don't come from me, because it's more like something that the devil would do in it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, yeah.
Or those that follow him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talking of those that follow him, that goes on to the next one, doesn't it, Jamie?
Yes. Spells, hexes, and curses. Now, you probably all heard of all different stories with this, and
so that's another theory.
Yeah, some believers in the esoteric believe that spontaneous combustion of these victims is due to a spell, hex, or curse, which has been put on by a little witch or wizard or whatever they are, and it's been attributed to witches, satanists, and all that, like
Satanists,
and it probably stemmed from mainly from the Dark Ages, where it's sort of expanded over the years.
Yeah, because that's something they would. It's a witch must burn them at the stake because they've done. Yeah, but even though it's something that does make you think, oh, Dark Ages, there's a growing number of people today that believe this theory.
Yeah. Yeah. Personally, we can't see why a Satanist would randomly target an elderly, mentally disabled woman or homeless man, for instance. Yeah. Yes, all right, they do what they do and worship what they worship, but yeah. But we're not even going to attempt to begin to understand this topic. We would imagine if it were the case, it would take a very powerful person who was adept in the crafts or spellcraft to formulate and enact a spell of this magnitude and this power, and to destroy a complete human body to a pile of ash. And we would imagine that would be more of a common phenomena, to be honest, if they got their little mitts on this little spell, because witches all have these little circles, these little get-togethers and speak and little books, and covens, and they'll all be doing it.
If it was something as simple as a spell, anybody that could read could get hold of this spell and perfect murder. Do a little spell, set people on fire, and you won't get the blame. So if it was something like that, you'd think it'd be more common.
Yeah.
Crazy people would be just making all these. Everybody would just be bursting at the flames everywhere. You piss somebody off, they're going to get their little book out.
They may not even need a book. They may not even need a book.
Maybe a doll.
Do spells work without a book?
Maybe a voodoo doll, yeah, just setting a
doll.
voodoo doll on fire.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Anywho,
that's one of the theories.
yeah.
Now the next one is a theory that's been posited to explain some of the cases where the victims have survived, and that is a medical condition called Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Now, this is a rare condition arising from an overreaction of the immune system that leads to lesions on the skin. It's commonly found in children and young adults, and it's often a reaction to certain medications.
Yeah.
Now, severe cases of Stevens-Johnson syndrome are called toxic epidermal necrolysis. This is when it becomes life-threatening. Large areas of the person in question's skin becomes blistered and appears to look like burns, with their skin often peeling off.
Oh.
This has been attributed to many cases that have been mistakenly labelled as spontaneous human combustion, in which the victim survives but displays really bizarre-looking burns on their skin.
Yeah.
However, it would not explain the more extreme cases of SHC in which the victims actually go on fire and burn up and are completely reduced to ash.
Right.
It could potentially explain some of the weird, if they've got this really rare syndrome where they're getting weird burns on their body, but if they're actually going on fire,
Yeah, it's a bit different.
if there's actually witnessed flames coming out of their body,
Yeah, this is
probably not Stevens-Johnson
this isn't
syndrome.
actually a burning. This is actually visual.
Yeah,
things.
this
It
is
looks
like
like burns,
like the
burns rather
aftermath.
than burning.
You'll have like something on your skin that
Yeah.
looks like a burn, but there's been no fire involved.
No.
So I think you would know if something just appeared on your skin
Yeah.
out of nowhere, or if there was actual flames shooting out your fucking skin. So yeah,
Yeah, there's a
I
bit
think
of a
you would
difference.
notice.
Yeah,
Yeah, one might notice that.
And maybe a bit of a giveaway that there's flames shooting out of you.
yeah.
Well, so another theory, which is another common one, which makes sense because it's highly flammable, would involve alcohol.
Yeah.
Many believe that alcohol is the sole cause of these cases of SHC, with many of the victims reportedly having consumed alcohol shortly before their death. This is cited to act as an accelerant, causing the body to burn completely. However, this doesn't.
However, there's a but. There's always a but.
There's always a but. This doesn't really add up either, given the amount of people who consume alcohol and do not catch on fire or burst wide open and into flames and exude blue flames from their abdominal cavity. And in cases where several others have consumed the same alcohol and not caught on fire, of course, these particular victims could have some sort of existing medical issues that cause a chemical within their body to react to the alcohol, causing it to combust. But no scientific explanation has ever been found to back up that hypothesis. If such a condition does exist, it has never been documented. Does that mean it's impossible? No, but it is pretty far-fetched just to create a hypothetical medical condition to just explain away the deaths, yet show no evidence that the condition even exists.
Yeah.
And when they talk about it consuming all of the body, you have body parts that weren't affected at all.
Uh-huh.
And not all the victims have consumed alcohol.
Oh, no.
There is a few there that they've had alcohol, but like, for instance, like the little baby that set on fire. I didn't go into that because it was a bit horrific. So I didn't go into that case.
Yeah.
That baby, and plus, I've been drunk many times over the years, and I've never caught on fire.
No, well, the other thing is, this is a silly thing what popped in my head, which I'm going to share now with you, that we're talking about the alcohol aspect. Now, we heard about from that woman who rubbed brandy in her thighs or something.
In her calves.
Yeah, in her calves, sorry, thighs, I don't know.
Use the muscle pain.
But here's the thing with that. Now, if they think that's a genuine reason, this is going to sound stupid, but I'm getting to a point. That's probably stupid.
It probably is stupid, but
right.
go on.
At Christmas, here in the UK, we have things called Christmas puddings.
Oh, here we go.
Which is like a little pudding, like a cake.
Little cake.
And it's made with fruit. And What
Okay.
you do with it before you serve it or anyone have it is you pour brandy on it or smear brandy butter or something like that.
Mhm.
And set it on fire.
Set it alight. Now it causes a little blue flame. The alcohol burns off, and then you eat your dessert. Now, if this was the case, what they're saying that they're going to, burn up into piles of ash, why doesn't this pudding do the same? This pudding is drier than you and I. Yeah, there it is. There,
Yeah.
still intact and ready to eat. So. Again, that popped in my head.
It does make sense, but you just compared people to a Christmas pudding.
Some people put a coin inside the pudding as well, which was it was supposed to be luck if you eat the coin, if you get the coin, but you could.
What do you choke on it and have? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, plus coins are dirty, but there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, good point though. I mean,
the whole alcohol aspect. But if you've got an accelerant, you still need a spark.
Yeah.
Where's the spark coming from?
Yeah.
Where's the spark? That's it.
Yeah.
Even with a Christmas pudding, you pour alcohol in it, it doesn't just set itself on fire. You've got to light it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Clothing.
Didn't you just do them?
No.
No, that's me now.
That's because you've been going on about Christmas pudding.
I've been waffling on about,
waffling about Christmas puddings.
Yeah.
Go on then.
No, a Christmas pudding. They're actually quite good though. Well, Lisa doesn't like them, do you? But whatever. Right, clothing. The chemicals in clothing has obviously been used as an excuse or floated around the idea of it, because chemicals in these clothing with things like acetate, which contains wood fibers, which I didn't know as well, nylon because it's made of petroleum, rayon, which is recycled wood, pulp treated with which is
no. Rayon is recycled wood pulp.
Yeah.
It's not a new sentence.
No. Treated with caustic soda, ammonia, acetone, and sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid. And anything labelled static resistant because it's treated with chemicals. So again, what we're getting at is that there's a lot of wood, and we've got a lot of chemicals involved, which could
it doesn't explain the spark though.
Cause a reaction. No.
Where's the flame coming from?
They're saying maybe the friction of the clothes or something could cause a spark, acting as an accelerant.
Static electricity.
Yeah, but again, you would expect if people, because lots of people wear clothes, lots of people wear these clothes.
Yeah, a lot of people wear clothes.
A lot of people wear clothes. You would have thought that had happened.
You
lot
just
more
say
often.
a lot of people wear clothes.
Yeah, but
that's what he said.
I did. I won't wear clothes. But what you got also, what you've also got to consider as well is, I mean, we've seen these sort of things through the ages, and the clothing materials have changed. These sort of chemicals
more natural,
and methods,
like hemps and whatever. It doesn't wash.
Don't wash.
Don't add up.
The clothes do not wash.
There might be weird shit in your clothes, but you still got to set them on fire with something.
Well, that's a good point.
Where's the flame?
Kelly says, our bodies have electrical fields, so you don't know if it's a reaction. Good point.
Right. Or what sets it off? What is the spark? Right.
Right. Another theory, which is another rabbit hole in itself. Another theory that's been used to try and explain spontaneous human combustion is ball lightning. Now, ball lightning, there's a lot of people believe that doesn't exist either. So I'm not even going to go there. That's a whole other rabbit hole, but ball lightning. Now, ball lightning is described as a luminescent spherical, basically a ball that's lightning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never heard this one.
Oh, you never had the ball lightning?
No, but like you said, that's a whole other rabbit hole. But this is what they think could be a theory too.
Yeah, they think this is what's causing spontaneous human combustion. Ball lightning.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to educate you later on ball lightning, Danielle.
All right.
It's the thing. They think it actually causes crop circles as well.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
But they just blame it. It's like your UFO, like swamp gas, and
swamp gas.
It's ball lightning. Right. So So basically, you've got these varying sized different balls of lightning. Now, 19th century reports of ball lightning documents that when they eventually explode, they leave behind a sulfuric odour. Ball lightning has been documented over the centuries, so yes, it's something that's been around for the whole duration of all the reported cases. but it doesn't add up either. How it just doesn't add up. Because many of the victims were inside sealed rooms with no windows open. Some of them did have the windows open, but they were in sealed rooms where no weather phenomena, no matter how bizarre it is, could have got access to them to be the spark that set them on fire. So it doesn't add up. There's also 0 reports of strange luminescent balls or sulfuric odors related to any case of SHC.
Or reports of thunderstorms, because they're associated with thunderstorms usually.
So if ball lightning did exist, it doesn't add up.
I say it's a load of balls.
It's a load of balls. It doesn't add up.
Sulfuric odors.
I want to tick off the list. It's not that. It's not that.
In sulfur, the sulfuric odors, that's very specific. And none of that wasn't reported.
Danielle was going about the next one because I didn't understand it. Even though I wrote it for it, I didn't understand it. But on you go.
All right, we're going to go to the scientific point.
Very sciencey, and it's like...
I don't know. It's like put on my glasses.
Need a little white jacket on and that.
I know.
Have you got glasses to put on?
Pocket protector.
The intelligent while you're telling us about the science.
Oh, that.
Right,
Yeah.
so
put them on and tell us about the science, Danielle.
Mitochondria overload. So not even going to pretend to completely understand this theory, as Lisa said, but it is a theory, so we will try our best to present it. Mitochondria are the membrane-bound cell organelles. Mitochondrion is the singular form that generate most of the chemical energy needed to power the cell's biochemical reactions.
That's just for those that actually understand it, because I don't.
Very
I read
good
it and I've
illustration.
got a clue. There's a little picture of the structure of mitochondria.
Yep. Takes me
Now
back
I
to
get it.
my
It all
biology
makes sense.
days.
It all makes sense now. I've showed you a picture, doesn't it?
So the chemical energy produced by the mitochondria is stored in a small molecule called adenosine, or I'm just going to say ATP because adenosine triphosphate.
ATP.
Mitochondria contain their own small chromosomes. Generally, mitochondria and their mitochondrial DNA are inherited from the mother. Always blaming the mother.
Oh, always a woman's fault, isn't it?
Yeah. I think there's a Jimmy Buffett song about that. Anyway, from what we can gather, the mitochondria overload theory posits that all of our mitochondria in our body fires off at once, causing a massive amount of energy, thus causing a spark or combustion when paired with things like the intake of alcohol into our bodies through our digestive system. This causes, well, an explosion and resulting in fire. Is this even possible? Frankly, we have no, to put it in the UK terms, we have no bloody idea.
No bloody idea. Is it possible?
No bloody
I don't
idea.
know. I am not a scientist. I don't know.
But it does give more theories as to how this scientifically could happen. I mean, you know, we do have these electrical charges within us, and we're talking mitochondria, and we're a recipe in itself, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if this. I don't know the science behind it all, or if it's even possible.
Yeah, but even if it were possible, it doesn't explain the cases where people's arms and legs have caught fire if it's wholly dependent on the third-party accelerants being
That was the only thing that I could fathom, that even though they're saying that all this mitochondria fires off at the same time and causes a spark, the actual part of it being related to SHC, it's dependent on your digestive system.
Yeah.
And whatever you're digesting or ingesting into your body is causing a reaction with the
That's just kind of where I was coming from before.
And why would just so few cases be happening if such things were?
Yes, exactly.
And also, like the bloke with his arm went on fire, that's nothing to do with anything that he's ingested. It's not going to be in his arm, is it?
No. And if it were possible, would the explosion of these people's abdomen, in which is often reported, but not always, and bursting out of blue flames add validity to the theory? Who the hell knows?
I'm not going to go away and get a degree in science to try and understand something that might be a load of shite.
Yeah, but this topic is honestly caused more confusion because none of these theories explains the bizarre circumstances found in cases attributed to spontaneous human combustion. Not even the next theory that's going to be talked about, which is often cited as the most plausible. But Jamie will tell us about that.
Right. Well, the most common explanation is they were just normal fires.
Normal fires,
Normal
everybody.
fires.
Nothing to say here.
Yeah. This theory is often cited by those who believe SHC as nothing more than urban legend, a myth, something that doesn't happen. They believe that every single case attributed to SHC had normal cause and was just your average accidental fire. However, that doesn't really hold up to scrutiny either because of the extreme temperatures the bodies would have to burn in order to reduce them to ash.
Mm-hmm.
And just the
Basically,
weird consistency surrounding these cases, because just strange again. Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't explain it really.
Now, this is where I've done a little investigation.
Yeah.
Now, the obvious place to look for answers as to the actual burning of a human body, to my mind, when thinking about it, crematorium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, because they specialise in burning human remains. So, off I went to Google.
I thought you went off to the crematorium.
No, I didn't go off to. I went off to Google, and I'm probably going to get arrested for what I was searching for on Google. And if anybody I remotely ever knew dies in a fire, I'm in big fucking trouble, because I'm Googling some weird shit to try and get an answer for this. So, like, what temperature do you need to burn a body at, and how do you reduce a human body to just ash?
So this is your alibi. This is your alibi.
I'm so getting arrested for some of my Google searches for these shows. Oh my god! So I'm Googling this shit. Probably been flagged by the FBI or something. I don't know. But here's what I found. It takes 4 hours for the cremation of a human body. And that is at between 1400 and 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what they typically cremate human remains at. Now, this level of heat reduces the body to dry bone fragments and basic elements. Now, this is something I didn't know, and it's probably a bit... You probably don't want to know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway because it's important.
So
cremation doesn't completely reduce the human body to ash. There is bone left over, and the remaining bone is then ground down and added to the ashes. So that temperature of up to 1800 degrees for 4 hours is not enough to reduce bones to ash.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So
that was something new I learned today.
Yeah. Now, apparently, a standard house fire can reach temperatures of 1500 degrees Fahrenheit at the highest point. So that's at the ceiling, because heat rises. So at the ceiling, you've got 1500 degrees, with the floor level only being a few hundred degrees, and the eye level, so it's about 5 to 6 foot level in the room, being a few hundred degrees. That's like the height of an average human. So it's round about 600 degrees Fahrenheit at that level in your average house fire. Now, Jamie was supposed to continue this, but I've done the order wrong, so Danielle's now going to tell you.
Yeah.
What else I found, because and a drink.
Okay. Well, to completely burn bone to ash, you would need a fire hotter than 1800 degrees used in your average crematorium. Now, the victims of SHC were not floating on the ceiling, obviously, at the time of their deaths. Where
they might have been, because it's all that bloody bizarre, but as far as we know, there's no floating.
So we can't imagine that they would be up there floating around, right? Just that's not plausible. But they weren't in the fire with a temperature of 1500 degrees, which falls within the lower end of the cremation fire. Thinking about, like Lisa just talked about, where people are sitting and where the temperature levels are from the floor up, ceiling down, that kind of thing. So if they're standing
200 degrees on the floor, 600 degrees at your eye level, and 1500 at the ceiling.
Right. So
They're
like
not
you
hot
said,
enough anywhere, but
No.
whatever.
if they're standing up, then the maximum temperature they are experiencing is 600 degrees, which is, like you said, not enough heat to reduce the body completely to ash. But then again, neither is cremation. A fire with an accelerant like propane gas can reach a whopping 3,500 degrees, which, according to
My
very suspicious looking Google search,
my very suspicious
I'm
Google
not gonna say it's
search.
my Google search,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
according to Lisa's Google search, may be enough to reduce a body completely to ash, minus the extremities, which are left unaffected. But this would have to burn for at least 4 hours to do so, and surely investigators on scene would find signs of such an extreme accelerant as propane. So those were whole house fire temperatures, though. An isolated fire of a piece of furniture will only reach temperatures of 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So those found burned to death in their chair and completely reduced to ash, that doesn't add up at all here. 200 degrees might sound hot, but it's nowhere near enough to produce the resulting remains of the ash that we see or what's found.
Yeah.
Yep. Doesn't add up.
Well, there's 4 types of fire temperatures: room temperature fire, low temperature fire, high temperature fire, and ultra high temperature fire. So you
And
can
this
get
is according to like official fire investigators. They've got these 4.
Okay, so this is just like a reiteration kind of what you were saying.
Okay.
This is for house fires. So they've got 4 categories that they will put a fire at.
Yeah. Number 1, room temperature fire. A room temperature fire is a type of fire that burns at a temperature below 750 degrees Fahrenheit. This type of fire typically causes minimal property damage and does not produce large amounts of heat or smoke. Number 2, low temperature fire. A low temperature fire is a type of fire that burns at a temperature between 750 and 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. This type of fire typically causes moderate property damage and can produce large amounts of heat and smoke. Number 3, high temperature fire. A maximum temperature of the fire is a type of fire that burns between 1,500 and 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This type of fire typically causes significant property damage and can produce extreme amounts of heat and smoke. 4. This is the big one.
The big one, yeah.
The big one. Ultra high temperature fire. An extremely high temperatures fire is a type of fire that burns at a temperature above 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
So that's your ones that's typically got accelerants.
This type of fire typically causes really bad property damage and can produce massive amounts of heat and smoke. So it's going to devastate.
Basically,
the place.
if you've got a house fire and it's a stage 4 fire, you ain't got a house left.
So
nothing.
This is where it becomes confusing, because in the cases of SHC, you need ultra high temperatures. We're just saying
you need number 4 fire,
but with the aftermath of fires giving you an equivalent, like the room temperature, where minimal damage is found.
So you need the actual intensity of fire from the ultra high temperature fire, which is supposed to completely take the whole house and decimate everything, but you're getting the results of a room temperature fire, which is very localized with minimal damage.
So just there we can tell that there's something strange
something weird going on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Weird. So to summarize, that is all your theories now. So if you look at all the factors attributed to spontaneous urine combustion, you've got several cases where blue flames have been witnessed, and a couple of them where blue flames have been witnessed just shooting out of somebody's abdomen, like when it bursts open and it's shooting out of them.
I can
You've
imagine
got the actual fire being contained to a very small localized area around the victim. You've got the bodies being reduced to ash, even the bones, which suggests a very, very high temperature and then
for a very long time,
intense burning over at least 4 hours. Even though some of the victims have been found within periods that are less than 4 hours. You've got the lower extremities, like the feet, often being left behind relatively unscathed, with the clothing not damaged at all. socks, bottoms of trousers or pants in America, shoes completely undamaged. The victims, and all of these cases that are attributed to it, didn't seem to be conscious because they didn't run, they didn't move, they didn't scream for help. They just remained there in place and just burnt to death. So something rendered them immobile or unconscious. You've got alcohol consumption is often involved, but not always. It's not always a factor. So the theories that attribute it to alcohol don't make sense.
Doesn't hold up.
When you look at them all as a whole, you've got different time periods between, obviously, people being seen varying from 1 hour to several days, which doesn't add up with the amount of time that it should take for these slow burns. And it's been attributed to people from all age groups, from babies, basically, through infants into teenagers, people in their 20s, 30s, all the way up to people in their 80s. So it's not just targeting specific age groups. Could be anybody. And there is no known medical conditions that links a victim. So they've not got anything in common.
No.
They've not all got like a certain condition that maybe could explain
Johnson's,
something. They've not got a certain syndrome that's causing a problem with their body that's reacting to something that they're becoming exposed to environmentally. So there's nothing like that that's linking all of the victims. Yeah. So that leaves you with a couple of questions at the end of this episode.
A couple.
Several questions, but the main ones being, does spontaneous human combustion exist? I'm going to say yes. Yes, it does. There's a lot of evidence, a lot of weird shit going on, a lot of weird deaths that can't be explained as being just normal. Yeah. And there's something strange going on. There's definitely something in it. I do think it exists. But as to the question, what is the cause? As for me, and I'm going to ask the other two, but I have got no bloody idea. I've looked at every single theory, and not a single one of these theories answers the question. There's always something that doesn't make sense and makes that theory not add up. So I have no idea. I've got no clue what it is. I'm even more confused leaving this topic than I was going in. Indeed. I do think it's a thing, but as to what causes it, fuck knows. Jamie.
Right. Well, first of all, my previous theory was basically maybe medication. If they take a combination of medication that will react, or actually the one before that, I knew it was sort of maybe chemical related. Now, in the 90s in the UK, we used to have warnings because what used to happen, people used to use cleaning products, two different kinds in when they're cleaning the houses in the toilet, the loo or sinks and that. They used to put two chemicals in, and these particular two chemicals would go off bang, so it explodes. So they've changed this sort of chemicals now, I do believe, so it's a lot safer. And I thought, well, maybe that's something what's going on. Again, that people are not drinking like household cleaning products. I hope not. Don't do it if you're listening. But similar sort of things, or maybe something chemical inside your body reacts with an external chemical what's added to it. The alcohol as well, I thought, but then it doesn't make sense as I explained earlier. So I don't know. That would be my thought process, but again, I really don't know. Danielle.
So I believe that it exists as well, but like you guys, I'm dumbfounded as to what it actually could be, because if you take a little bit of each of the theories, then you could kind of see or make sense. But for the most part, none of it explains it entirely. And I mean, could it be a spiritual thing? Yeah. To what end? To what purpose? I don't know. Chemical seems to make the most sense. But what is it that is that perfect combination that's causing it? No clue. The wide range of ages, circumstances. One interesting thing is, that I do find interesting, and I don't know if Lisa came across this or not. To my knowledge, it's all been indoors. Have all the victims been indoors that we know of?
Apart from like out of these ones, the homeless man was like on a outdoor sort of balcony area.
Yeah. That was an outdoor balcony.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Bit of protection.
Mostly indoors, yeah.
That's
You
great.
know, this could be a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories that many people could come up with.
So
as to
indoors
how
there'd be less oxygen, wouldn't
Yeah.
there?
And
than
I've got
outside?
one more thing.
Weird.
One more thing. Now, Kelly asked this at the very
Oh
beginning.
yeah.
And that was my exact thoughts. And I did say I was going to answer it because
Oh,
I was left thinking, is it just humans? Does it happen
Yeah.
to any other living creatures? Do animals spontaneously combust?
would you find out?
Yeah, let's find out. And I've got a website that's got the top 10 extraordinary cases of exploding animals.
Oh, so it does happen.
It does
See,
happen.
I didn't think it did.
Exploding?
Yeah. So I'll just share this with you.
Do you really want to share?
No,
Yeah.
it's just a top 10 list. So
Okay.
number 10, we've got Germany's bursting toads. Whilst it might sound like science fiction, it's a phenomenon that was first seen in Germany in 1968, although there have been recorded cases in Belgium, Denmark, and the USA. The most well-publicized incidents of basically frogs exploding happened in 2005 in Germany. Over 1,000 toads swelled up and burst, causing their internal organs to fly out. This led to the area being named the Pond of Death by the press. And then we've got self-sacrificing ants. Basically, yeah. That's just self-explanatory. A detonating sperm whale. Do you want to watch a video? I've not watched it.
No.
No,
we don't want to watch the
we
video.
don't, no.
Right, we've got the Oregon whale explosion of 1970. So a whale exploded in 1970 in Oregon. Yeah.
Okay, so but these we're talking about actual explosions, like
I know, but it comes under, look, the beginning. It says, you may have heard of spontaneous combustion, but the phenomenon of animals literally exploding is less well known. Some of them, obviously, have been caused by things, but some of these are weird. Now, if you want to, I mean, it obviously would be here all day if we're going into all the rabbit holes, but Google it. Google spontaneous animal combustion. It does happen.
that sounds more like of a gas buildup of some sort that.
Yeah. Do all animals pass wind? Do they build it up inside of them? And then.
Yeah, Kelly, I don't know. Look, what did they have
I
in
don't
that?
know. What was that?
Yeah.
What is that? During the Second World War, British secret agents hid explosions in all manner of innocuous looking.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah.
See, like methane. There you go.
Yeah. Nothing.
What's right? The government say that's why we want to ban cows from farting because they can spontaneous combust.
Yeah. So that is.
So we probably haven't brought any answers
No.
to the
We've
question.
got no answers. We just left you with more questions, and I'm very sorry because I ain't got a bloody clue.
But we are curious, and we're curious case files, and
I'm
that
still
is definitely a curious
curious.
subject.
Yeah, I'm not so scared because I don't rub brandy in my legs and I don't. Oh,
I'm scared. I'm scared because I've now
got.
got an even worse Google history than I had
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
I have looked up some weird shit for these episodes, but typing, trying to find out how to completely get rid of a human body sounds like I'm a serial killer that wants to get rid of. I'm not.
It's all the shows you watch. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But we're your alibi. We're the witnesses. Everybody here will sign an affidavit, I think.
Thank God. Yeah, so that is all we've got for this week. We will be back next week with another true crime case for you to sink your little teeth into. In the meantime,
Sink your teeth into like the Dracula from Pennsylvania.
yeah, like Dracula from Pennsylvania, you can sink your teeth into a true crime case. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for all your support. Please like, subscribe, share, show your friends, and thank you for keeping on tuning in. We will. What will we do, Danielle?
We will see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Yes, we will.
Cheerio.
Take care of yourselves and each other. And,
and don't spontaneous combust.
No,
everybody.
please, no.
Please do not start exuding blue flames from your abdomen because we need you to come back next Tuesday.
Just because we need you.
Just because we need you to
We
come
don't
back
care
next
about
Tuesday.
your safety.
Because I'll miss you.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys in June. It'll be June. We'll see you in June.
June. How did that happen? It was just Christmas a minute ago.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm going to wait to be confused about that now. Bye
See you
bye.
later.
Bye.